Almost any Django-based application has a user model which is provided by default. User model provided by Django has username, email, password and a couple of other fields. If you want to extend default user model, let's say you want to add a quota field, then you'll face a very interesting issue. In this lesson, we are going to explore the topic of adding extra fields to the user model. The way you will solve the problem of adding extra fields to the default user model depends how far are you in your project. There are three cases. The first one and the simplest one when you are just starting your project. The second case is when your project is in development mode, which means it doesn't have real users. And the third case is when your project is live in production with real users. In this lesson, we will explore only first two cases. The last one, which is a little bit more tricky, we'll explore in next lesson. For new projects, adding additional fields to the user model is really simple. All you need to do is to derive your own user class from abstract user and set auth user model variable in your settings file. It is so simple to do and so much beneficial for your project that whenever you start a new Django project, this is the very first thing you must do. And this is regardless if you plan or don't plan to add extra fields to the user. Let me show you by example what I mean. So here I'm in Python virtual environment where I already have Django installed. And I will create a new Django project from a template, from this template. And this project, as you see, there's no model defined, which means it uses the default Django provided user model. So let's add our own class model. And this model is defined in app land module models. And at the end of the base settings file, I will add variable auth user model equal to land user. Let's run migrations. And since this moment on, we can add whatever extra fields we want to the user model. For example, I can add a quota field. And in this case, if I create again migrations and run them, Django won't complain. And just to show you how user models look now, I will use Django extensions graph model. In the image generated by graph models, you see the relationships between all the models of this project. And you can see here there's a user model and the new field. Let me make it bigger. And you can see the quota field, which is an integer field, was added. In the example that I showed you, I first created a project, then I added a user class, and only after adding user class, I ran a migrate operation. And if I change the order, I mean after creating the project, I will immediately run manage migrate instead of adding user class, the example will not work anymore. Let me show you that. I will create a new project and I'll name it Kyrex. Let me run immediately the migrations. And after running migrations, here in models of the land app of Kyrex application, I added user model, and in base I added auth user model. Now let me make migrations again. Okay, we have migrations, and now let me run them once again. You see, it didn't work. And it's not just it didn't work, it also throws a very strange error. And from this error message, it's pretty difficult to figure out what's the problem. And in this second case, after we run migrations already, we need to think of different way of extending the user model. The solution is basically to add a new module in your app. I will name it user profile. Adding user profile is 3 steps process. First, we need to add one-to-one association between user profile and Django users model. All extra fields, like quota for example, will be actually added to user profile. Second, we need to create a post-save signal which will create for each user instance one profile instance. And the last step, which is a little bit tricky, we need to make sure that signal is loaded into the app. In other words, we need to make sure post signal is active. And now let's see all this in action. So I will create yet another project. I will call it Pluto. And in Pluto project, I will run migrations. And here in Models app, I will create user profile model. And you can see here the one-to-one association between user profile and Django users model. I'll add one more field, one more extra field. I'll call it quota. Let's make new migrations and run them. Great. Now we are ready to proceed to second step. Signals can be created anywhere in your app. A best practice is to create a module signals.py and place it in your app. Let's do that. And this is the definition of our signal function. This function is called every time user model is saved. When user model is saved for the first time, this argument will be true, and we will use this opportunity to create a user profile instance and associate it with user model instance. To check if our code is ready, let's create a very simple unit test. In our very simple test, we'll create a user instance, we'll save it, and then we will check that user has an attribute profile. When user will have a user profile associated, that user profile will be accessible via profile attribute of the user instance. It is so because in models, when we declare user profile and create one-to-one association, we declare related name. So this related name basically means that from the other side, the user profile would be accessible via profile attribute. So we expect newly created users to have this attribute. Let's check if this test passes. No, it doesn't pass, and there is a very good reason why it doesn't pass. And the problem is that we didn't do the last step. We did not activate, so to speak, or load the signal. To do this, we need to open apps module of our app, which is land, declare here function ready, and load our signals modules. Because we declared our signals module in land signals.py, we need to do from land import signals. Let's check the test now. No, still didn't work. The trick is that app-specific configuration module like this one are not loaded by default. To ask Django framework to load this app configuration module, we need to do a very small change. I think like every Django developer, you know how to add an app to the Django project. Which you might not know though, is that instead of app path, like this one, you can point here to the app config path, like this. This is the path to this class, land config. This way, Django will load app-specific configuration, which in our case loads signals module. And now, test should pass. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks for watching.